with the HSD Hillsboro School District School Board. Welcome, School Board, to our work session room. I know you're enthralled with how amazing it is. We just had a walkthrough and a tour over at JA BizTown. It was awesome. So thanks to Barb for that. And thanks for coming and meeting with us here. And obviously, welcome to the staff of both organizations, both HSD and the city. And of course, welcome to the City Council. And I'll turn it over to Robbie.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robbie Hammond. I am the city manager for the city of Hillsboro, and just want to welcome the school board and all the school staff that are here with us tonight. We've done this a couple of times. It's been a few years, and when Travis and I got together, and Raheem and some others, we thought it's probably a good time to do this again. So I thought I'd share a couple of thoughts really quick, and then I'll turn it over to Travis, and then you all have the agenda for the evening. We're a little behind already. That's okay. We got lots to cover tonight, but it's all good stuff. First of all, I just wanted to express my own appreciation for the Hillsboro School District. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are at Glencoe High School. One of them is at Jackson Elementary. And by the way, he was at JA BizTown last year as a 5th grader, and he got the coveted job of the Chick-fil-A drink filler. He was so excited about that job. So one quick story I thought I'd share. When I present to groups, I oftentimes like to ask people if they can name all of the city departments, because we're a full service city. And almost without fail, they get 2 things wrong. They say that hospitals are a part of the city, which they're not. And they say the schools are a part of the city, which they're not. But it's always a good reminder to me how kind of intricately involved the city and the schools are. And a successful school district makes a successful city. So we are very grateful for HSD and for the great foundation and partnership that we formed. So with that, I'll turn it over to Travis.
I push this button. I do push that button. Good evening, everybody. My name is Travis Ryman. I'm proud to serve as superintendent of the Hillsboro School District. I, too, am raising a family here. I've been here for 22 years with the Hillsboro School District, and I have students who are 12 and 11, and we enjoy the parks, the libraries, especially the Glenn and Viola Walters Cultural Arts Center, and just all of the opportunities that are here to enrich the experiences of kids growing up in this community. So thank you for everything you do at the city level. I'm also a fan of strategic planning and looking down the road, and I know that there's a history that predates me of the city and the school district having a close relationship. Supporting each other with strategic planning and also the 2020 and 2035 visioning processes. So thanks to everybody who's gotten us this far. We all are drinking from wells that we didn't dig. So thank you for your leadership and keeping the spirit of collaboration alive. I'm hoping to do that tonight. I also wanted to mention that this is an express goal of our Hillsboro School Board to interface directly with the city in a context like this. So I want to thank Brooke and Raheem and Robbie for putting this event together. And the agenda for tonight in a forum where we can communicate across our different organizations. Hope the meeting is enjoyable to everybody. Thank you.
So I think you can see the outline on the agenda. We're going to start talking about our shared facilities and fields. And so we're going to kick it over to Saide and Raheem to start that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Raheem Harji. I'm the Deputy City Manager, and I'll let Saide introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Saide Hagi Kushku. I'm the Operations Officer for the Hillsboro School District.
So we're just going to cover at a very high level some of the work we do around shared facilities and fields. But before I get started, I wanted to just recognize Kendall Reed, our Parks Director, and Sean Morgan, who is our Senior Manager in our Parks Department. They're the ones that interface with the school district quite a bit, so they provided these notes. So if you have any questions, I have no answers. So the city and the school district for a number of years have had an intergovernmental agreement in place for us to use each other's stuff, essentially. It's just been makes more sense financially. It allows us to not duplicate our facilities and fields. And our first IGA that we had in place was in 2007. And the purpose of it is just to memorialize how we interact with each other. We do it at a no-cost method, so each owner of the facility gets to program their stuff first, and then the other entity programs after that. There's a bunch of rules that we follow. I won't go through each one of them, but it essentially sets up a framework on how we use the facilities. Just a couple of examples on some programs that we've done. So we have our Gordon Faber Recreation Complex that the school district gets to use. We get to use a lot of their gymnasiums and fields to program recreation across the city. Our pool at Shark is another place where we have a lot of strong partnerships around joint use. And there's a whole list here, but in the interest of time, I won't go through that. Said, anything you want to add before we talk about enhancing some of the stuff we're doing?
Just to build upon what you were mentioning, this is a unique opportunity to really highlight and shine a light on such a dynamic and rich partnership that the Hillsboro School District has with the city of Hillsboro. And while the IGA is a framework for that partnership, we have shared values and common goals. And the fact that we're able to pool our resources and see where there's a need and fill that need in collaboration collectively for our greater community is the essence of this IGA and the partnership. So we are much appreciative of the partnership, and we look forward to expanding it in the future.
Yeah, so just building on the IGA and the years of partnership that we've had, we're jointly having conversations at a staff level about what other opportunities exist out there. The school district owns a lot of grass fields, for example, and maybe there's a partnership that the city could enter in where we pay to get them turfed, or somebody gets to pay pays to get them turfed, and then we enhance recreation across our community. As you can imagine, land is at a premium within the city limits, so it just makes more sense for both of us to look at opportunities like that. So there's a couple of sites we're actively looking at now. We also want to be mindful about the existing user groups that are using those fields today, and we don't want to displace them, but maybe there's opportunities to enhance that partnership. So that's just some work that we're working on over the last year. Anything else? Okay. Cool. All right. Well, we'll go on to the youth's joint youth supports, and see if Frank can come over to chat about that.
Should we wait to the end to ask facilities questions?
Yeah.
If there's any questions or points of discussion that you'd like to have before we transition to youth supports, we'd love to give you a moment to have a discussion. We can take some notes. If there's any questions, we can also address those as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nancy.
I'm so glad in between. Sorry, this is what we do. I was wondering, the partnership here is incredible. As newer to the community, it was absolutely wonderful to bring a child into a youth sport and to use facilities like the 53rd Park, which was awesome, incredible. I have had my concerns about the new stadium that is being built right now, and that very complex that we all love. I had heartburn about the loss of, 10 to 15 fields that were used, like, I'm sure it wasn't that many, but it feels like that. And they were highly used. But I do feel better now that I had a conversation with the owner of the Hops, and it was as I suspected, and that was forced on us by Major League Baseball, or we would have lost the stadium. We would have lost the team. Having said that, what can we do and how can we make this better so that we don't put undue pressure on the district in the face of our financial situation, where we may not be able to handle the upkeep, we may not be able to staff these fields. This takes extreme amount of resource and effort, and we just hope that we are lock, stock together so that we can support our community, because what we do for our children is absolutely incredible. And I'm so thankful that we were introduced to lacrosse, for goodness sake. And it was those kinds of things. And I don't want to see that die. And I just feel like we're under a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah. When we entered into that partnership with the Hops, one of the things that we had committed to doing was replacing the use associated with those 3 fields that they built the new stadium on. So those 3 fields were 3 softball, baseball fields that were grass. And we could only use it for a certain period of time just because of the weather, right? So we are actually actively in negotiations with the county on some other options to relocate that use in a different place. We can't speak too much about it right now just because we're in the process of doing that. But our goal has always been to not just replace the use, but find ways to enhance the use. So something simple as like if we're going to build new fields or enhance existing fields, let's turf them. It helps with the maintenance costs. It allows use year round, and let's look at them from a perspective of a multi-use approach. So we're not just focusing on baseball and softball. We're looking at it from soccer, lacrosse, other sports too. So we're actually in the process of doing that right now.
Thank you. Glad to hear that.
All right, I'll go. Building on Robbie's excellent point of people often thinking that like all this dovetails together. I love it. People often think the schools are part of the city and vice versa. And as you all know, we have 3 municipalities that HSD serves, plus a bunch of schools in unincorporated Washington County. So I guess you mentioned Washington County too. So my question is sort of when we reach the edges of the city line, but are still within the district, places where I used to live, Indian Hills, Tobias, Reedville, all of those places. Do we have ways to make city things available at those, or do we have to have a pretty clear differentiation at the city limit line for folks like who may live, go to Lad Acres, but live in the county?
I could maybe answer that at a high level. It's open to everyone. There are some nuances. So, for example, if you want to use our Hidden Creek Community Center and sign up for like a monthly pass, there's a resident rate and a non-resident rate. But as far as use, like if you're part of one of our softball teams and you don't live within the city limits, you're free to join that team too. So it isn't restricted to just City or Hillsboro residents.
I guess my question is more to Saeed. Like, do we have ways to help city programs at buildings that may not be within the city limits but are kind of close, like we do on that eastern border, I guess?
Give me an example. What specifically?
Like in Indian Hills, for example.
Okay.
A lot of fields there.
Mm-hmm.
If the city had run out of places to play, could we make Indian Hills available, or is that crosses over the line?
No. It's district property, and so we would look at expanding partnerships and seeing about turfing those fields, creating a multi-use field, whether it be football, lacrosse, baseball. Yes, so we do have that discretion.
I thought that was likely, but I just wanted to check and make sure.
Thank you for asking.
Thanks, Bo. We can move.
So next, Fran and I are going to cover a little bit about some of our after-school programming, and I'll just touch on the high-level partnership and turn it over to you, Fran. So back in 2021, while we were still in the pandemic, the city received some money from the federal government through the American Rescue Plan Act. When we received that funding, we had a conversation with our council at the time on what was our priorities on spending that funding. One of the things they identified was, which was one of their priorities, was to explore opportunities to provide focused support to childcare and elder care providers to reduce barriers for people returning to work. So one of the ways we wanted to do that was partner with the school district to look at after-school programming at a much larger scale. We had been in partnerships before on other programs. Some of you may recall, like we used to have a BLAST program, which provided after-school programming. So we had conversations with the school district on what options could we take this and basically just amplify it. We realized at the time that the city was not in the best position to run the program. It just didn't make sense for us to be just a middle person in there, even though we'd had such a good success with BLAST. So we essentially used a model of, we'll give you guys, the school district, some funding from the American Rescue Plan and some of the funding we were putting towards the BLAST program to provide scholarships to a program that the school district was enhancing. So I'll turn it over to Fran and maybe talk a little bit about that program. But one of the things on our council agenda tonight actually is additional funding towards that program. We have provided about $1.2 million since 2021 towards after-school programming. and we're about to approve $400,000 tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Francesca Sinapi. I'm the Equity, Access, and Engagement Officer for the Hillsboro School District. So thank you very much for letting me speak a little bit about our Champions After School program. When this started in 2021, we looked at first going to our families in our community and finding out what exactly they wanted in addition to the research Raheem had done in order to help establish what we were going to use the funding for. And one of the main things our families said was, having an after-school program was great. They had that before the pandemic, but what they wanted was the ability for children to receive supper and extend their day by enrichment activities. The transportation wasn't an issue to them at that time, nor is it at this moment. It was more of how can you extend that day, enrich that day for them, give our students supper, and allow them opportunities to stay throughout the day. And then parents were willing to come and pick their students up when it was over. So we were able to bring it to, in our first couple of years, it was 6:30 that parents were allowed to pick up their children. We've since then moved it back a little bit because we found as time went on that most kids were picked up by 5:30. But they do get a meal immediately after school that they're able, and for some of our students, when we targeted our schools that we found needed it the most, these were some of the only meals they were going to get in a day. So the breakfast, the lunch, and now they had supper allowed us the opportunity to provide 3 stable meals for all of our students. When we looked at engagement and enrichment, we went with the Champions. And they have been solid partners for us in HSD. They work with us. We provide opportunities for them to engage in professional development. When we came back from the pandemic and we were really close and focused and locked in step with what we were going to do as a school district, which was focus on 3 core concepts, they came alongside us and allowed us to provide professional development in the areas of reading, in the area of social emotional learning, and in the area of enriching students after school day. It was we no longer wanted it to be referred to as daycare, which at times that's what it's been referred to. It was an enrichment activity for our students. And in addition to being able to work with champions and training them in their reading programs and training them with social emotional activities that they could do to enhance their day, it allowed our students at schools the opportunity to participate in school-based after-school programs. So many of our schools, when we had ESSER funding that was flowing in, and we had some other grants that were coming in, our schools were able to set up their own after-school programs. So it could be anything from art to cooking to chess to a running club, a soccer club, board game club, you name it. Every school has some sort of after school program. So our students were able to jump in, have their dinner, come out, and then engage in an enrichment activity with their peers from their school, and then come back out into Champions and finish the day off with Champions activity. And we know that this worked so well for us. We did a sampling of students who have been in the program since they were in 3rd grade and now are currently in 5th grade. Now, I know it's a sampling, but we looked at a group of students at 2 different schools and tracked their reading and where they were. And for the students that we tracked, all of them in 3rd grade. Now, mind you, this was coming out of the pandemic, so there's a lot to be said about what actually, where students were entering in instructionally. But they have all, at least in the sampling, have reached grade level, if not gone beyond. And I have to attribute that to not only the instructional practices that are taking place in our classroom, but to the extra work that we're doing by extending their day by 3 hours, allowing that engaging activity, allowing them to participate with their peers, and then with the enriching activities that we've provided through professional development for the champion staff to be able to use some of the strategies that we use in our school district in order to amplify and enrich. And so this is our 4th year. In addition to the ARPA funding that Raheem talked about, we also had ESSER funding, which, as we all know, has run out. So we have been working strategically to try to figure out different grants and different ways that we can bring our students the same opportunity. When we talk about community and whether or not a school or a hospital is a part of a city, we can all agree on the future of our city in Hillsboro is our children. Our children are our future, and children in Hillsboro don't often leave. So the investment in enriching our students' life at this early age so that they can have a leg up on what they are, maybe their peers have and they don't, allows us that stability of knowing that we're investing in our future. And so the added bonuses of all those extracurricular, I have numbers, but I don't think we need to get into that. But I do want to say that it has been a delightful, providing that scholarships through the partnership with the city of the $1.2 million has allowed us to offer a slew of hundreds of students were scholarshiped in because of this. And we're now at the point where we're in budgetary constraints, and we're going to have to look at how we're going to move forward with this. But I want to personally thank the city for the last 4 years of providing us with that funding in partnership with our own ESSER funding to help fulfill that for our students.
Any questions on the after-school programming partnership before we transition to the next two topics?
Yes. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us. 1 out of every 5 adults is food insecure, and 1 out of every 3 children in Oregon. I really appreciate you highlighting the importance of having that meal and having that support at school to be a safe space to receive food. Are there additional partnerships that both the city and the school are working with, like Oregon Food Bank? I know that there's many food pantries that the schools also provide thousands of pounds per school per year to Title I schools that you're currently working with to help receive support, which are also having challenges with funding.
That was one of the beautiful things of what we saw come out of the COVID experiences. Many of our schools do have some access to, if it's not the Oregon Food Bank, it's many of our churches or faith-based areas have really stepped up and have provide that for us. When we do the lunches through or the suppers through our district, we utilize nutrition services. So there's a break in the amount that we have to pay because there's reductions in nutrition services and how much we actually have to pay. But there are ongoing efforts, and I was just at a food bank today at Minter Bridge. And so they do have resources to provide that, and many of our schools have weekend backpack programs where kids can come in, families can come in. There's certain days of the week where it's open for families. So even though there are families who maybe who are not accessing Champions, they're also accessing the food banks that we have inside our school. And our community faith-based, I can't say enough about them. They have really stepped up and really support our schools whenever there is a need.
Thank you.
How many students do we serve through the Champions program?
Currently, we have under scholarship or because we do also have pay to play, we have pay to go, we have private pay, we have 50% reduction, 100% reduction, 100% scholarship. We have a sliding scale. So if we're talking about 100%, it's between 250 to 300 this year. But that number will be different for next year because we've had the funding from the city that has helped support us and some other funding or budgets that we've had that we've been able to pull money into that. When we started off in our first year was about 220 that were fully scholarshiped.
What is the max capacity for the Champions program?
Each school, depending, and we have 10. I'm talking about our 10 that are underneath this. Out of the 27, 10 are underneath this grant that we're talking about with the city. 40 is typically, but we can go up to 60, but we do need, that takes us strategically working with our partners in order to bring another person in because the rate of students to people change. So anywhere from 40 to 60 at each of those 10 sites.
I see. And I would imagine we're at max capacity when
Pretty
it comes
much.
to full scholarship students wanting to.
Oh, full scholarships, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I think it's great that we got a chance to all get together is we get to learn about a lot of programs that the city had that we just didn't even know. And something you get to learn some things about us. And for those of you who don't know, super proud that our nutrition services team has worked to make it so we provide meals to every student. No question, no qualifying, no. So free and reduced lunch is not really a thing or a metric we can use to measure things in Hillsboro anymore, because every student has access to a free meal. Everybody knows when you have to self-declare, the possible statement comes along with that. So I will say, just so you all know, that is a thing we do. It is, our nutrition services team was amazing and worked to get us, our whole district, to qualify for a federal program. I would just flag some things at the federal level are a little uncertain. So it is a thing that I want you all to be aware of, that we do provide for all the students in the district, but it's also something that we are keeping an eye on because of the uncertainty at the federal level.
So that was going to be my question. And so, Travis, what's your plan if there's a change?
Regarding the federal government and the sponsorship of the CEP program?
Food. Food for kids.
Food for kids?
Yeah.
We plan to keep our district in the status of qualifying. It's a community eligibility program, CEP, and it's based on SNAP and TANF benefits in our area and other data that's not self-attesting to the need. It's more of like a government program. And we're planning to lobby our legislators to continue that program, whether it comes from the Department of Agriculture, or Department of something else, which we see happening. We don't plan to give up advocacy for that program. And frankly, I think it would be hugely unpopular to cut nutrition programs to public schools in the United States.
And I think what nobody knows for sure. If somebody tells you they know what's going to happen, I think they're probably guessing more than they really know. Questions we've been asking are, what protects these programs? And much like you saw the student loan program move to the Small Business Association, we're being told, things like Title I, things like the nutrition programs could exist without the Department of requiring the intervention of the Department of Education. So I think agriculture has been one of the federal agencies that's been noted as a possible home for the school meals program. So, I mean, as much as you can be optimistic, I think we are optimistic that some of those fundings are independent of some of the, trying to be nice, some of the vagaries that we see at the Department of Education.
I'd like to also add that one of the things that Travis said a couple of weeks back, maybe in a couple of months, well, yeah, and I've been repeating this as it comes up. We will continue to operate until things change. There is a significant amount of angst that is going on right now from a national level, and there is a significant amount of fear, and the reaction is we have to do something. While I agree, we do, it is our job to continue to serve and function and act and do in the moment where we are right now, because legally nothing has changed. So I just urge everybody to keep that in mind and not buy into the hype, so to speak, but don't give in to fear. I'm not being Pollyanna. I do not know what's about to happen, but what I do know is I'm going to stay in the moment with the children as we are right now, as we watch Brooke and Andre and Travis run this district, and we're going to keep doing it until we legally know something has changed.
And I think we're very appreciative for partnerships with, like, the City of Hillsboro and many other of our partners, for the reason that even before this recent federal government matters, the federal funding that we received temporarily after COVID to help students with special the challenges they faced coming out of COVID was temporary, and now that's gone. And so, but some of the students still have heightened needs from that period, and so. We want to take advantage of every partnership we have to find resources to help students, to provide them extra support. And so we appreciate that Travis and his team really lean into that. And they've forged with all sorts, PCC, City of Hillsboro, all sorts of groups, partnerships to expand the support we can provide to students. And so that's really been a great benefit to us as a district, I believe.
So in the interest of time, we'll continue moving, and Robbie's going to talk about the youth.
Thanks, Raheem. I think these next two I can cover fairly quickly. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our Youth Advisory Council because there's significant ties to our school district. We have Michaela Canetti sitting in the back. Her and Madeline Burke do an excellent job in leading this program. This program actually started back in 2005. And so we have, they did the numbers, and we've had, it's somewhere in here. It's like a couple hundred students, 200 students exactly, that have gone through the YAC program since its inception. So I just want to read the mission statement. It says, the mission of the Hillsboro Youth Advisory Council is to educate, engage, and empower high school students from the Hillsboro community by providing meaningful opportunities to participate in local government, develop leadership skills, and create positive impact in their community. It is a wonderful program. And like I said, we've had 200 students come through. They've gone on to pursue degrees in political science and public policy and community development. Some of them have become elected officials or are pursuing careers in public service. This year, we have 27 students. They represent all the schools: Century, Glencoe, Liberty, Hillsboro High, Oregon Episcopal School, Hillsboro Online Academy, and Valley Catholic. There are 1 freshman, 8 sophomores, 11 juniors, and 7 seniors. And a couple of things that this group is just notable achievements. Some of you might remember the plastic bag ban ordinance. That was really spearheaded by our YAC several years ago. And now it had obviously a massive impact in our region. They held a virtual town hall during the height of COVID that we were able to get a whole bunch of people to hear their thoughts and hear from the community. And they have an annual TEDx event. And there's one coming up. I think it's in May 16th. So a great opportunity to come and listen to a lot of our students give some pretty powerful speeches. And then just tonight, for those that may not be aware, we have a group of our students that went to Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago to the National League of Cities conference. We try to send them every year. They go, they're able to advocate for youth in the nation. And so they'll be presenting on what they learned and their experience later on tonight. So you got something, bro?
I was going to say, tag me in when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm that perfect time.
Okay, that's what I
Go
thought.
for it.
Okay.
Yep.
So I just want to speak a little bit about what it looks like in Hillsboro School District Partnership and Youth Advisory Council and how we work together to make that happen. But before I say, I just want to say thank you so much for your service and all you do for Hillsboro around this table. And I think one of the things that we all have in common around growing great things is growing great students. And the Youth Advisory Council is definitely an example of that. So thank you so much just for how much you support. I was an active follower on watching the YAC and the council at the National League of Cities and how much you had so much fun and enjoyment with the students. They just bring such an energy to everything. That's why we have amazing student reps that are with us on our school board. So just thank you for that. Something I just want to share with those 20 years of partnership on YAC, what that has looked like is specifically our school to career specialists in all of our high schools, they work to find the students. So in our high schools with our school to career specialists, they get the information when it comes out in April or May of, hey, we're recruiting for the next round of our YAC students, and they work with our career and college pathway program. So we look at students in business and management or civics and community of, hey, this would be a great opportunity for you in your interests. In that, what's great also for our students is a lot of times when they're doing their senior capstone projects, they can also incorporate what they're learning and doing in YAC into their career and college pathways and that senior capstone. So a lot of your mentorship, a lot of what you were talking about of the TED Youth X, as well as the plastic bag ban, those have been things also that our students were able to incorporate in those senior projects as the years have gone on. We also didn't mention Youth Invasion, which Robbie was a founding person of Youth Invasion, all the work that YAC goes into that as well, and resume building, learning about different careers within the city. And our students have also enjoyed that throughout the time as well. The other thing I just wanted to share too is thank you for your internship opportunities and programs. So within that, a lot of times our students that are in YAC and within Hillsboro School District, they have an opportunity not only in high school, but also as they pursue post-secondary education to come back and do internships, again, connected to their career and college pathways, again, connected to what they're learning and doing in post-secondary education. And in the spirit of growing great things, that is definitely in what we share collectively of how do we inspire our students to then see themselves as the next generation, not only of Hillsboro residents, but beyond that as well. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Brooke. Anybody have any questions about YAC or about the internships? Thanks for mentioning the internships because that's one of our favorite things as well. I think this year we have 22 planned. Those are not all just HSD students. We have a lot of college students that come in, but we've made that a high priority as well in Hillsboro. If not, then we will move on. We were going to talk about BizTown. You all probably got the best tour possible up there already. Brooke, was there anything else you wanted to add that wasn't said earlier? Go for it.
Okay, just really quickly about BizTown, then we'll transition. So I just want everyone to know that how BizTown works for Hillsboro School District, and this was mentioned by Barb, is that through our service credits that we're able to use through the Northwest Regional ESD, we pay for every fifth grader to have that experience, as well as they were talking a little bit about the flip site. Barb mentioned a flip site for our juniors. So our juniors are specifically in our career and college pathway program of business and marketing. We also pay for that experience at the junior year for our students as well. So not only does Hillsboro School District have that opportunity, but as Northwest Regional ESD serves over 20 school districts, that is open to any student that is served by the Northwest Regional ESD. But I think what's really special about this specific site, if you haven't been to the East Side site, that's a great one to look at as well. But some of you were serving when you passed the land that used to be for the Washington County Museum to become BizTown. So thank you for being on council and supporting that. And I'm happy that the beautiful space that has become today. So thank you for that. But the second thing is that what we have in the downtown corridor of Hillsboro. So if we think about the Arts and Education District, Health and Education District, the small business partnership, to look outside the window, be able to see civics happening, that to be the seat of the Washington County Courthouse, that's everything that students get to experience, not only that are students in Hillsboro, but as they travel to be a part of that BizTown. So what a cool opportunity for students, not only to see the thriving community that Hillsboro is, but again, to be inspired of what's around them. And then to think, what do I want to do later down the road? What inspired me today that maybe in that physical space of BizTown did I experience, but what did I see within the community of Hillsboro that maybe inspired me to do something as a next step as I go on to middle school, high school and beyond. So thank you, one, for passing that. And two, thank you for just everything that you do to support that space. That really was a collective effort of everyone again around the table to make that happen.
Thanks, Brooke. I also wanted, go ahead, Mark.
I just need to, fun fact, I love JA BizTown. Sorry I missed the tour. I was part of the very first group of parents to ever volunteer at the Eastside JA BizTown. My daughter's fifth grade class was the very first class in HSD to go to JA BizTown. And so as a parent volunteer, I got to participate in that. And for those of, most of you in this room probably know the better half of our family, my wife, Jenny, and she was the, I think, PTO president at the time and really pioneered and worked hard to make my daughter's class the very first class ever to go to JA BizTown. So it was awesome. And weirdly, she worked at like the cable TV station and now she works in sports broadcasting. So I'm not saying there's causality, but correlation maybe.
And one thing I also wanted to mention regarding the after-school programming is that tonight on the City Council agenda, as part of the consent agenda, there is an item where the council will be considering another $400,000 amendment to the contract that will be provided to HSD to continue those scholarships. So it's a great partnership. We appreciate that partnership with the school district. You all do a great job with that. So looking forward to seeing that on the tonight. It's actually on the consent agenda. So. And then the last section we wanted to go through tonight, it's been mentioned a couple of times. There's a lot of stress and fear in the country, in our city, I'm sure in our schools. We just wanted to talk a little bit about what we are as a sanctuary city, what that means, and some of the things HSD is also doing about this. And so I'm going to turn the time over to Beth and Fran and Simone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
I get to kick us off? Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Grazer, and I'm the Communications Officer for the Hillsboro School District. This is my 16th year in the role, and I'm also from Hillsboro. It's where I grew up, so I love this town, and I'm really pleased to be a part of the school district. So, safe and welcoming community efforts. We, the first time around when we had this administration, we had some experiences where our students were just very, I mean, what we experienced from the level of fear and uncertainty around the possibility of ICE raids and deportations and things like that. I mean, it led to at least one school-wide sit-in at one of our high schools where the students were demanding to speak with the superintendent, who was our previous superintendent at the time. And so we experienced firsthand what it was like to not have been forthcoming with where do we stand in all this. And I think it's because we were all just a little bit caught off guard, and just give kudos to the previous council and mayor for their bravery and all of their efforts to pass a sanctuary city resolution. I know that was a controversial thing that took a lot of fortitude. So kind of following your lead and our own experience with what we went through the first time around, and knowing that those fears were now at the forefront once again with the new administration coming in. But also trying to balance, sometimes when you try to support people and you're really out there in front, like, are you bringing more focus on them than is actually helpful? So we were really weighing how we approach this issue. And what we ultimately decided was that we wanted to anchor to things that were codified in federal law, in Supreme Court precedent, in our own state law as it relates to school districts' responsibility and privilege to serve all students regardless of immigration status, and the fact that we cannot be compelled to assist with purely immigration-related efforts, nor do we have to allow people into our school buildings unless they have a valid judicial warrant. And so putting those items, just kind of placing those stepwise in a one-page document for our community to be able to reference and to serve as a guide for our schools and our staff members and our families, communities, and students, we felt was the right step. And so we put that before our board, and pleased to say that they did pass that resolution at their January meeting. And I'll let Simone speak on behalf of the city, but I know that you too reaffirmed your stance as a sanctuary city. It was a very loud and clear message that Mayor Pace shared during her State of the City address, which was really appreciated and well received by the audience. So yeah, that's just kind of an overview. I know that we have experienced some families. It's perhaps gotten better now. I would have to rely on our statisticians to tell me, but I know that we did experience some families that were too fearful to send their children to school for a period of time. And so there are very real impacts to the fear. And so, it definitely behooves us to reassure folks that when they're in our schools, they're safe.
Thank you, Beth. Good evening. Simone Brooks, Assistant City Manager. I just want to build on what Beth had to say. This relationship, this partnership between HSD and the city started around Sanctuary City, started even right on the heels of the election when Francesca reached out to me to find out what could we tell her and the committee, Educational Equity Advisory Committee. What could we tell them? What information could we share about Sanctuary City and what that would mean for the city of Hillsboro and our community members and their students? And so we actually met with that advisory committee back in November, the 25th, with our city attorney. His city attorney and I met with them and just shared what does it mean to be a sanctuary city and what does it not mean? And what it doesn't mean is that while we don't enforce federal immigration law, we do have to allow ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, to enforce the law. but we don't have to, we are not allowed by state law to assist them with money, staffing. We can't do that. And we were able to say that very clearly, particularly to the students who are on the advisory committee, that is our position. But we also wanted to make sure it was clear that we don't offer any other protections. That's not part of what being a sanctuary city is. And I think similarly, maybe to the board, our council was resounding in its support of broadly our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, but also in being a sanctuary city, but also trying to balance how do we not draw the attention of individuals that we may not want to draw attention to our community, because we want to make sure our community is safe. So how do we balance making sure our community feels supported with also helping to keep them safe? And our public safety officers are there to provide safety. They are there. We want to make sure that individuals know that they can call us if they are a victim of a crime, if they are a witness to a crime. So our chief of police and our mayor have been out kind of on the stump, making sure that community is aware of what role we play. So just a few of the things that we have done. We met with the Latino Policy Council. Our chief met with the ACLU, the Washington County Chamber of Commerce's Latino Business Council, the Calle Diaz Community Advisory Group. The mayor and the chief also met with some of the businesses over at Calle Diaz and answered questions. TV Jam was there to film it, and so that was also aired, which was really helpful. I know our city councilors have done a lot of their own outreach to businesses and community members, which is obviously very helpful. We continue to explore options for sharing information with communities. So we are working with local community-based organizations that work with our immigrant and refugee communities to find out how we can get information out. We have some tentative plans around having a webinar that will provide information, not just about what a sanctuary city is, but also about how to avoid folks who are portraying themselves as attorneys who work on immigration issues, how to get through the immigration process. So we're working on that actively right now and hope to have something out in May or June. And so we will keep you apprised of that once we know more. But we also have, our PD has been really out in the public. They developed a trifold brochure, which is going to go around. It shows some images of what does a Hillsboro police officer's uniform look like? What do our vehicles look like? What do our badges look like? So that when folks see people in uniform that are part of our Hillsboro Police Department, that they know that's not, you don't need to be afraid of our police. They are here to serve and to protect. And so we're really trying to make sure that message is loud and clear.
One thing I want to thank Simone for is right after our educational equity committee came together, both you and Chad were so willing to come in and be a part of the conversation with us. I just want to really hit upon the three things that we need to do at this point is to educate, communicate, and be able to be consistent with our messaging. I think sometimes when we talk about our community, our students, our staff, and our families, they don't have the information. And it's been 8 years. So for even some of our administrators who are sitting in certain roles that will have direct effect on this, they don't have the information, and they do have it now. We have done a big effort of making sure everything from the office manager to the family outreach liaisons that are in every school to our departments, administrators, the registrars at the front office, they've all received professional development on their rights and knowing what exactly it is that we can and cannot do. And that is key, because once you do dive into it and it doesn't, whatever side of the fence you are on or whatever side you are for, we can all decide that we need to be in community and knowing the right and proper information, and that education and that communication is key. So we too have partnered with our school resource officers who are a part of Washington County, as well as Hillsboro Police Department, to make sure our messages are the same. And we've gone into different venues with our administrators to make sure that we're a united front when we have those conversations, and tapped into different organizations like Adelante or like Cairo, who helps our immigrant population from those that identify as African. We've got support from IRCO, and others that we have strong relationships with that have continually worked with us to provide that education and that communication, because that is important for them. They need, if you have the information, you're more likely to send your students to school because you now know that is the safest place that a child can be. And when you don't, in the absence of information, people make up what they perceive to be the right answer based on what they're hearing and whatever. And so it's been really, with Travis's support and Audra's and others that works directly in buildings, us being able to give that information and working with Simone and Chad and others, it's been really helpful to be able to give the right information, the right communication to our families so that they know what their rights are and know that, it is not necessarily our business or our job as a school system to come up with a plan for you, but we can certainly point you in the right direction of where you can find that resource. And when people have resources, then they feel more likely to feel safe that their kid is going to have a good experience at school. So I appreciate all the things that Simone had said with the different partnerships, and we stay in communication about new things that are coming up on the city level as well as in the schools, because what Beth was saying, it is real. Our students are scared and our families have been scared, and it's not an HSD thing. It is across the districts, and I have sat just recently with Beaverton School District and worked through a similar situation with this and the crossover that was happening with them. So I do feel assured that as long as we give the communication and the education to the right people and the people who are making decisions, then they will know and feel that the school is a safe and welcoming place.
Fran, Beth, and Simone, thank you for the information that you've provided to all of us. 2 questions. Are these available at the schools for the parents?
They are. We provided hard copies and they have soft copy, digital copies as well. So they can be printed out as often as possible. And if you need, we can resend them.
And then the second question I have, with Safe Routes to School and the school district, is there an opportunity for that partnership to go further? I know that with some Title I schools, there's been some concern about transportation for students who have to walk for numerous reasons. Is there an opportunity to create student and advisor, like parent advisor trains to make sure that students feel safe coming to and from school?
I think that's an interesting and something that we could look into. I know that with some of our after-school programming, we had just recently a meeting with Champions to go over what they're doing if somebody was to come after school. And from that, it spun a bunch of conversations with other outside providers and what would they do. So we were able to share with them what our stance is as HSD, and they were able to adapt that. But that is something that we can look into.
I just wanted to ask maybe Beth or Fran if you can speak to the resources that we have for families. If there were to be a situation where families needed to access, I know we've created websites, and if you can talk a little bit about that offering.
So yes, we have compiled several resources on our website. If you go to our website /Safe and Welcoming Schools, you can see all of that information. For example, in multiple languages, what they call the ILRC red cards. So it's kind of a know your rights card. If you ever do find yourself confronted with an ICE agent or other law enforcement official that you're not really certain of their motivations, you can provide the ILRC red card. There's also an entire packet that leads you through the planning process for how you would think about if you were detained or you were somehow separated from your family. Like, it puts in place, here are the emergency contacts, here is who I want taking care of my child, here, is basically a power of attorney over their healthcare and other important decisions, things like that. There's references out to immigration law support sites, and obviously different links that point them to actual laws and resolutions and kind of know your rights type FAQs about what can actually happen if an ICE agent were to enter a school and request access to my child, for example. And it kind of takes them through the steps that would happen in that case.
So we have our regular city council meeting begins at 7. We'd have a couple more minutes if anybody else has any questions. Otherwise, I will just express again gratitude, not only for all the staff from both the city and the school district that came tonight and presented, but just for the wonderful partnership that we have. It is not common. I want to make that really clear. The relationship that we have with the school district, you don't see that in all communities, and it makes us stronger. And we appreciate that foundation and that partnership that we have. Turn it over to Travis, and then maybe we can have Mayor Pace and Chair Batoya close the meeting.
Thank you for that, Robbie. I just was taking a look around tonight and stepping back. Education, I think, is foundational to the democracy that we have in this country. And I think our students, I wish that they could all have visibility into the conversation that's happening here, because it's centered on care for students and sincerity of purpose for all of us. And I appreciate everybody here stepping into positions of leadership during a really difficult time. It takes an emotional toll. We have to be vigilant. It can come at a professional and personal toll as well. And so I thank you for your leadership during these times. And I thank you for the collaboration across agencies. I'm really grateful tonight. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank the city for welcoming us. And I wanted to mention that we do have 2 of our student reps here. I think it's our year 7, right? That we've done student reps, right? And then one of our student reps could not make it today, is also a YAC, is in the YAC program. So I wanted to, how we all intertwine. But I also wanted to highlight something Fran had said earlier about how our continued partnership is important, because, we have our community and our students who go here, and those, who choose to do great things in the world. But there's also a group that stay here and do wonderful things. And some of those examples are here. For example, we have Beth, who is a, Glencoe High School graduate. And then we have Brooke, who is a Hill High graduate. And then we have Erica, who is a Century graduate, and then myself, who is a Glencoe High School graduate and now a business owner here in Hillsboro myself. And so, those stories also need to be shared because it's important. So thank you. And also those who are also part of HSD. And I don't know, thank you for being here.
Echoing what everyone else said, thank you to HSD for coming over and hanging out with us and reaching out. Let's do this again sometime soon. And I appreciate the partnership. Thank you to the staffs who work together. Thank you to the board members on both entities that work together as well. I love seeing this. It brings me hope. It brings me joy. And I'm so happy for Hillsboro and the students in HSD. Thanks all for coming out. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I call to order this work session of the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors at 7:08. One agenda item, and it's the inclement weather days update with Travis.
Thank you very much. In planning this meeting with Yvette and Mark and Rose, we felt bad that there was one agenda item, but it is time sensitive, and I need to tell you about our inclement weather. But then we also reflected that it might be nice to have a round of board comments and discussion time following the meeting downstairs. So thank you for joining us upstairs here and spending a little more time together. Mine's pretty quick. We had inclement weather days this year, 2 during the snowstorm. And our decision after reviewing our Division 22 compliance requirements, and especially related to instructional hours that we provide, those days didn't put us below the instructional hours required at any grade level. And so our decision to share tonight would be to not make up those days or add days to the calendar, which would be the responsibility of the board to change the calendar. So tonight, there's not an action item. It's just that we would advise the board to not add days back. And that's that. Happy to answer any questions. Oh, one more comment. During spring break, there were tornado warnings. And I had the fear that by saying this stuff out loud, I would just provoke an inclement weather day in April, May, or June. And so this is the caveat here, is that so far there have been 2 inclement weather days. And today the decision would be to not restore days at the end of the calendar, pending a clean and beautiful spring until the end of the school year. May it happen to us.
What is our current year end right now? Like our calendar, what day of the week do we end?
We end June 12th is the last day for students. June 13th is the last day for students. And then if we had made up, we had the Monday and the Tuesday of the following week.
Oh, 13th is
The 13th is staff, yeah, 12th is students.
So then does that mean graduation is that weekend?
Graduation
What weekend?
is the weekend.
4 weeks.
Oh,
It's always the weekend.
Yeah.
before the last
sorry,
days, but-
sorry, I got confused.
How many days away are we from not meeting the educational hours?
It's different at each level. In my recollection, we're closest in middle school. And so with elementary and high school, we have more buffer, and in middle school, we get close. And after 1 or 2 more days, we'd have to consider adding days back.
So no tornadoes.
No tornadoes. Yeah. Thank you for that.
No, nothing. No floods, no nothing.
Yeah, it is actually a reality. I mean, now that we're talking about heat and other kinds of natural disasters happening, we do kind of keep our eyes open when it comes to inclement weather. It's not just snow and ice anymore. We could have wind events, which we've had before. We had a fallen tree at the mouth of Hill High a couple of years back where there's one ingress and egress at that spot, and we had to remove the tree. So there are other factors that could help us not hold school someday, but not this year. Thank you.
I do have a question about that. So when we have that decision, is that information that Mary Kay and our classified staff take back to their unions, or how do we communicate that decision to our teachers and our staff?
I think we cue that up in hot news and just.
Since we're not making a change,
Yeah.
it's not really something that we address.
Okay.
If we were going to add days back, then we would have to negotiate it with our teachers union, and then we would definitely talk about it.
Makes sense.
Great. Thank you. And then that brings us to our discussion time. And we'll start with our student reps. Sorry, I saw you first, so there you go.
Admit I did not realize there was an agenda for today, and I didn't see the discussion time tacked on there. I haven't collected my thoughts all that much about the meeting, but I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed the meeting today. I loved seeing how the city operates, how the city conducted their meetings. There's a few comments made by Francesca, and I forgot the name of the man sitting next to her. Raheem, and some of the comments they made about the Shark and Hidden Creek Community Center. Like, yes, that's right, or the ICE guidelines, and how there was a page sent out to other to members of the community. I'd like seeing how all the different components I've seen as a member of the community and as an civil servant. I'd like seeing how all of that does start at the top before it trickles down. I'd like seeing that flow. It helps add context. And I think, as Nancy Thomas said, it's about the students.
And I'd add on, and I'd just say I was really, really moved to be able to be at the table. I said earlier today that it's something that I feel like any student who has a change or has something they want to address should be able to. Obviously, I mean, we don't have that big of a conference room, but it's definitely something that I really am happy that it's a position that not just I have, but other people have, because it's just been incredible to be able to make change at the school and see other people making change at the city, and just seeing more people out there who have the same desires as us. I'd say it was really, really incredible to see the mayor, see BizTown. BizTown just sent me back. Wow. I didn't go to the BizTown here. I went to the one in Portland, but it was still enough. I was like, wow.
BizTown here wasn't here then.
This was a very, very, very active session, I'd say we've had. So I'm running out of things to say
because we walk around a lot.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that I don't have things I'm thinking.
Thank you. Nancy? We'll do Travis. I'm kidding. Myself.
I'm always proud to be HSD, and I just want to thank everybody for the questions, the comments, the presentations by staff. When we come to a place like this and just share who we are, and then that finds a home with another organization, I'm just really inspired by the leadership there. So thank you all. Proud to represent.
I'll just go this way.
I appreciate the tour of BizTown. That was neat. Last year, I got to participate in the interviews of the students for BizTown, and that was really, really neat. Very sharp kids. So whoever had to pick, come down to the wire, that they had a tough choice because there were it was really neat. So I appreciate that. What else? Glad to be back. I don't have anything else. Thanks.
I also loved the tour. That was amazing. I want to be able to volunteer a day just to see these little fifth graders in action. Like my mind still can't wrap my head around fifth graders being in there with jobs and actually kind of working through all that. So anyways, super exciting to hear that we have a program like that, or the city has a program like that, and that we send all of our fifth graders through it. So that was awesome. Loved being able to meet with the council. It was great to see how many of our efforts actually dovetail with one another and how we have a lot of shared values and goals as a city and as a district. And so I would love for more of these opportunities to be able to come together and share and to learn. Loved all the presentations today where we were able to really share more in depth about what we do. And I feel like that's insight for the city council to see just the breadth of our district operations. And likewise, I didn't know the city did half the stuff they did when it came to, Sanctuary City and all of those things. And so just being able to, I think, lean on one another and share more of our resources and more of the things that we're actively working on, I think would be a huge asset for both entities. So when I don't know what the cadence of these joint meetings could be, but if it's once a year, once every other year, whatever it is, I would be a huge advocate for that. Thank you. Nancy?
Thank you guys. First, I wanted to say thanks. That was so awesome. I know it's not enough to say thank you because I know this took some planning. So thank you very much. The BizTown just brought back some really awesome memories for me. Having been a part of a veritable army from GE Aviation in Cincinnati, Ohio, where we went to the schools, multiple school districts, and we taught junior achievement at all the levels. And I got a chance to teach personal finance at some of the inner city schools. And it brought back all the memories. And at that time, we were getting ready to build the first BizTown. And I didn't stay long enough to see it. So to see that in action, it just felt good. It felt like home. I wish I had the time to do it again, but great memories. And I really, really appreciate knowing more about junior achievement. It's just been a part, and I'll never forget the memories of being with those kids for 3 years. And my company supporting the fact that this veritable army would go out there in the community and we were paid our regular salaries to do it during work. And that was just, it's something that stays in the heart that you never forget about. The second thing I wanted to say was about intersectionality. Today was a really, really awesome example of where the city and the school district actually do intersect. And that was really, really nice to see. It was good to hear their point of view and for them to learn a little bit more about what we do. And I think, quite frankly, we probably need to do that more than just once, maybe once a year to guarantee that we're coming together. But I thought it was a great idea. The second intersectionality I wanted to bring up was I often bring to you information from my day job that impacts us. So I'm bringing additional information. I'm letting you know that while Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement agents have been spotted at various Health and Human Services, our Oregon Department of Human Services offices along the coast. We did have the example where we thought they had come into the city of Philly. It impacted our staff arguably more than it impacted the clients that were in the room. It was very interesting. My point is this: I wanted to let you know that not only do we have to gird ourselves and prepare for when they come into our communities, but we also now have to guard ourselves against vigilantes who can dress up like them. And that hurt probably more than the actual thing. But the good part behind that is that we actually have a relationship with the Department of Homeland Security. And so the task force for the Oregon Department of Human Services meets with the task force, meets with Homeland Security on a weekly basis. And they are pursuing charges. And that's actually a good thing. What that means is our government is doing what it should do, right? And I say that for everybody, whether you agree with what we're doing from a safe community standpoint or not, it's about making sure that we uphold the law and protect our neighbors. So I just want you to know that it does go bigger than just us. It does. And we have said what we're going to do here in Hillsboro, and just know that it's actually happening on the state level as well at a very high level. And it made me feel good to know that. And I'm working with an agent right now as we're trying to identify the person in the video, the whole 9 yards. It's actually it made me feel better, if I can say that. I don't get too many moments like that at my day job. So that one made me feel good. So I thought I would share that with you guys as well. Thank you.
I was like, I'm counting down my last board meeting. But one of the things I was thinking about, like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years ago, when we first had this conversation back then with Mike, I was like, hey, how can we have these joint sessions? And it was like exploring this idea of like, we're serving the same community. Like, why wouldn't we talk to each other as leadership to like make sure we're on the same page, that we share the same values? And to see, I know we had like a little pause during COVID. We had other things to worry about, but I'm glad that we have reinstated this and like kept coming back to do this. And it's like one of those things that I feel like really proud of, like that, like keep doing it, even if I'm not here. Okay. I want to see it keep happening. And it's really nice for our community to see that the city and the school district talk to each other, that they work together, that we share resources, which also just gives more confidence in our stewardship. That if we can partner and offset costs, like we're going to do that. We're going to explore every avenue that we can, and make sure that we're having those communications with our partners, with North Plains, with Cornelius. And it has, I think, also served us so well to avoid a lot of conflicts or like situations where we have maybe conflicting interests, and being able to have conversations with the leadership, and even all of us seeing how our own staff and the city staff just seamlessly present and co-present. It's so like, I just feel so proud. It feels so great to be part of this community, to live here. And I'm just so happy just to experience that. And we are an example, because I don't know any other school district that meets with their city council. And all of OSBA, that I've never heard anybody else do it, but we do it. So I just want to say, good job, everybody.
Absolutely. No, it's a beautiful thing to be a part of this community. You know, it just makes me so happy for Hillsboro that we've all chosen to live here, and we all chose to make our home here. And you know, we all, the city council, us as board members, we all volunteer our time just because we want to make our community a little bit better in some small way than we left when we found it. So I'm very proud to be a part of Hillsboro today.
Yeah, it's mostly all gratitude. Just thank you. They'll never watch, but thank you, Hillsboro, for accommodating us today. And really thank you to all the folks who worked so hard to put this together. Like, we get to come in on board meeting day and take advantage of all the great work. Like Erica said, you guys co-presenting, that didn't just happen. I'm sure you guys coordinated that. And so you're completely aware of, we made extra work, not just for our staff, but also for the city staff. And I'm very grateful for everybody to take time to do it. I do think it's worthwhile. I'm gratitude to my board colleagues for agreeing to make this one of our goals. We started with North Plains and Cornelius. I think probably the cadence is every other year. It would be great if we could do it every year, but I think it is a lot of work to put together, sort of change their schedule, change our schedule, but it's worth it. You know, Derek's point, some of that, I may not be here July 1st, but you know, hopefully this is the kind of thing that continues after. Like, I think hopefully by making a board goal to connect with our communities, that stays. And I think at least everybody here feels like how valuable that was. So I'm encouraged with the idea that I might continue. And because it's such a big lift, and they have to when we try to, as OSBA, on the off year of legislative session, do something in Washington County, don't even think about that they can't have a quorum talking about stuff. So maybe in the other years that we don't do, when we do Cornelius and North Plains, and then do Hillsboro the following year, maybe there's a Washington County opportunity where we try to go to meet with the county
Commissioner.
joint meeting with the commissioners, right? I mean,
Been trying.
it's not insane to think it's possible, right? So we have 8. How many buildings do we have in the county? 8, 9.
But they also do health and human services.
Yeah.
They do housing, which impacts our community. So
Right.
it's
So I mean, I'm very grateful that we all made the goal. I'm very grateful for everybody being here. Grateful that the city helped us pull it all together and make it work. Now I'm asking for more. Okay? See, not tomorrow. Let's, yeah, but it might be a thing to think about exploring with the county, since we have so many buildings outside city limits of all of our 3 municipalities. We have, I think I can think of 8 or 9 that are outside any municipality. So thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with Mark with everything he said about, thank you to the staff who worked behind the scenes to make this possible. Because without any of your work, we wouldn't be able to do our work. And so with that, I'm always going to be grateful. And it was exciting to be here, with the city and hear all the highlights and everything we do together, or mostly what you guys do together as a group, for our community and our students and everyone who calls Hillsboro home. So that was great to see and hear. And with that, I think that's it.
Can you take this opportunity to introduce Megan next?
Oh, absolutely.
Because she's sitting here at the table.
Yeah.
You all have been notified that Jordan is resigning and moving to Arizona to take the role
How
of.
dare you?
What's that?
How dare you?
I know. This is against our.
I'm sorry, did you get my rejection?
Yeah. I know.
Sorry, Jordan.
I checked with our lawyers and we can't keep him here. But I do want to say Jordan has done incredible work in HSD since being here.
Yeah.
He has diversified and made more dynamic our technology department and the way that we've implemented technology in an equitable way across our schools with our bond. He's led us through a pandemic and the involuntary transition to one-to-one technology for students in the course of a month. And he's just a wonderful person and has been a good friend to us during his time here. And so we wish him the best as he pursues an opportunity that will let him retire about 8 years sooner than he could if he stayed in Oregon. So thank you, Jordan. So his position is posted, and so we'll be looking at recruiting. We made a fancy video today, Brooke and I, about, hey, come work in HSD if you know about technology. We're going modern with our recruitment.
Yeah.
There's no singing in the video, but we hope to attract good candidates.
Can you share that link?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's sound on this track.
No singing, or there is singing?
No singing. Well, I didn't actually see when Brooke recorded, so maybe there's.
There may be.
Officially, April 25th, Megan Nace will serve as interim district information and technology officer. Megan is a very competent. Mostly with Jordan. She's worked with Jordan for years now and will be a great leader for us in the interim, depending on when it is that we can find another leader. And so Megan I think it's okay for me to share that you have said that you're not interested in the position today, but I think Megan will be a great leader in technology services and maybe otherwise in our community in the future. But for now, she's going to hold it down with us and then help the new person with the transition into the role that Jordan has held until now. So
Maybe she just needs to see the video first.
Some of our best work. But anyway.
Travis, I just want to say to Jordan, thank you so much, Jordan, for your work. Honestly, you have taken us so far in a short amount of time, and all the projects that we have to. I was so impressed all the time when I see other places struggling, and I feel just so nice to be able to, when we can't make it, have the remote opportunities. Like everything is so flawless and I know it's because you make it that way. It's just like, oh, we just show up and do our stuff. But I know you run a really great department. So thank you for all the support.
Yeah, the work on virtualization and hybridization, like making it so that when we can't be here, we can still participate fully. Not saying like my first 2 years, I would try to participate from spring training in a hotel room in Florida by a phone.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Not that I wasn't going to say it was not great. But yes, now I feel like, we're able to be anywhere in the world. I think I hosted a board meeting from Ireland.
You did.
So I'm like, just very grateful for all the work you've done.
And the policies too that came with technology. So thank you for that as well. Replacement policies, all of that. It's just, there's a lot of work. So thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a great team and feel very confident in that continuing, and it's very proud of them and the work they've done. So thank you.
And if you care to share where in the great state of Arizona you'll be going, we're happy to visit you.
It's too hard.
No, there's a golf course wherever he's going.
Thank you, Eva, for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course, welcome in Megan. Fun fact, Megan and Travis are some of the people who see me prior to being on board member, in this role. And they see me as a Briar Rose school owner, and the kids went to Briar Rose. Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. And during the pandemic, when it was online, distance learning, we had 20 kids for 2 years, school age students who were all different ages, different schools, different schedules. They were just there with their laptops and their headphones that were provided by HSD. And that is some of the work that you got to do, and that we are grateful that you did. And those kids were phenomenal in doing that. I know at one point, Krista came over to try to teach me how to use Google Chrome, and it kind of went from one ear to the other. I was not useful, let me just tell you. And still am not. But I just wanted to give you share that little story that, you don't really get to hear how the work that you do affects our students. And with that, thank you. And this meeting is adjourned at 7:32.